Howdy folks, and welcome back to another Loki reaction. We're up to episode 2. I think it's called Variant. The Variant. There it is. Season 1, episode 2. Well, probably the only season. That's, I think, the way they're doing these things. Episode 1, pretty cool, pretty fun. We have found out that when they finally convinced, through his own attempts to escape and to be mischievous and to maybe potentially even rule this place, that this place is more powerful than anything he could ever imagine. So he's kind of like, well, I can't go back to my own timeline, and this place is pretty powerful. And might as well hang here. I mean, he's probably thinking in the back of his head, I'll figure out some way to take charge, right? Take control of this place. Loki, that is. One of the cool things is at the end we find out the variant they're searching is him, another version of him, and I've speculated, and I think it's correct, that it's going to be another variant of Loki that they picked up that broke away somehow, broke out, and is becoming a nuisance, as Loki would probably do. I'm also, with a lot of other people, thinking that, especially since they called out in his identification in the beginning, if you were to like pause, zoom, and enhance the display of the lead soldier, police officer who came through, TVA officer, and identified him initially as Loki, as the variant, it says that his gender is, or his sex is fluid. I'm with other people who think it's going to be a lady Loki. It's going to be a female version because from Norse mythology, he was transgender, omnigender, whatever you want to call it, fluid gender. And there's been, I think even in the comics, in the Marvel comics, there's been a female version of him. So I think that's what we're in for. The first episode did a really good job of setting up the universe, the rules, and getting him to a position where he's going to do something. I don't know. Is this episode going to be about? Is it going to be kind of a flashback? Is there such a thing as a flashback in a situation where you have all time at once? Anyway, are we going to see the other variant, the other Loki, or are we still going to continue to follow this one? So let us see. I don't think I'll ever get tired of that green Marvel logo. Green and gold. Oh, Ren Fair.
The trap, watch your back.
This is going to be the Loki, right? Oh no. Again, we didn't see the full body of the person just touched him. Could be a female, right? Taking her along, huh? So are we going to... This is crazy theory time, but part of me is... How, if Loki is gender fluid, how does Loki change genders? Is it the same body just changes to another gender? Or is it a case of transfer of consciousness? And I'm just thinking, is Loki taking a female body to use that body to be Loki? I don't know how it works.
Loki, what is it?
Oh, I love how this animated version is actually interactive. Knows who it's talking to. Potentially, I mean, it's AI as well, I imagine, to some degree or another. That is so cool.
Let me see the back of that jacket.
It's more than any other variant, and no two are alike. Like differences in appearances.
Do I get a weapon? I'll have my mask back. An audience with a timekeeper song.
Ooh, he knows already. Mobius knows that that's what he really wants. And he's just like an audience with the timekeepers. But obviously, his ultimate goal is always to rule. So in the back of his mind, he's thinking, how can I use this to my advantage to somehow rule the sacred timeline or rule the TVA?
Like a nice way of saying disintegrate everything in its vicinity.
Yeah.
He's on it. Or he pruned her.
Okay, so that wasn't a flashback to Loki taking a female body to put his soul into or something to become female. I don't think, unless that's something he's about to do. So this was in the same TVA timeline, as it were.
Loki couldn't have gotten the jump on.
So we're actually going to see one of these disintegrations. Oh, cool. So it looks like it doesn't like vaporize everything, so to speak. Unless what we're seeing is what was in that timeline being taken away and what was in the sacred timeline in the same place that should have been in the same timeline appearing at once, which is kind of a cool effect. Apparently it's done remotely. Look at that. So the charge is set, but they monitor it remotely. They monitor the timeline reversal, they monitor the effects and all of that from here. Which makes sense. I don't know why I'm saying that like it's some sort of revelation. It's just cool that we're seeing more of how the system works, you know.
This variant is...
I think it's cool that we're gonna. I speculated that there was some kind of relationship, whether it be student, teacher, parent, child. Sort of, not that they are parent and child, but some relationship like that. I didn't think it was romantic, but some previous relationship with them. I hope we get to see some of that. If it's true, if my guess is true. Pretend your life depends on it, because it does. Oh boy, destruction of Asgard. That can be Thor Ragnarok? Ragnarok, yep. Planetary destruction. There's only 9,719 people who were living there? Is that what that number's for? Zero variance energy, which means it was meant to happen. Oh, look at that. Displaced by, is that saying that it happened 2 seconds or 2 minutes? Whatever the 2 is. Either positive, like 2 minutes later than it was supposed to or something, but otherwise there was no variance. Huh. Codename Revengers. Did you see that? Thor's name for the team that Loki was on, the Revengers. 9,719, yeah. Well, that's 9,719 who were on Asgard when it was destroyed or died in the process of the whole event. Right, the fight and everything, I guess, maybe. So there's more of them are on the ship, but no, I don't think that many. Wow. They had a pretty low population there. I guess when you're immortal.
You must seek in the apocalypse and do whatever he wants, and we
Oh, so that's why they end up in the trailer. There's a scene in Pompeii.
might never do it again. Got old.
Pompeii, yep. Should that be Pompeii, Rome, not Pompeii, Italy? Italy came after the fall of Rome, right?
Yeah, it'd be really fun.
Are they going to find an apocalyptic event where there was a jet ski present?
Who gave me all this?
It's a very interesting perspective Mobius has got, isn't it? And kind of rational in a lot of ways. It's like, you know, if the faithful have their beliefs about where everybody comes from, where the universe comes from, but, you know, then you have to ask the next question philosophers will ask, which is, if God created everything, who created God? And then the answer from the faithful is usually, well, nobody. God is God. But then there are people like Mobius who ask the question, well, yeah, but what else? What else is there? And then you finally just come to the conclusion, whether it's faith or not, of like, well, I'm in this situation. I'm just going to accept it. And like he said, what is. It's very interesting.
Well, you know, it's
Yeah. No such thing as free will argument. That's used quite a bit, right? If everything is destined, then why does anybody bother to do anything? And if they stop doing anything, is that because that's their destiny?
simplification.
So in fact, I see. So
Wait a minute. So, did he just tell us that the timekeepers that all the branches from this point forward in the TVA time, TVA present time, whatever you want to call it, TVA standard time, everywhere forward on the timeline is all full of branches still. There's tons of branches out there. And all that the timekeepers are telling them to do is, as their little cursor, their little pointer is moving across and coming up on branches, they're telling them, prune this one, prune this one, prune that one, prune that one. We like this timeline. So the sacred timeline is just them deciding, this timeline seems good. Not that there's anything special about it, but it's just the one they've decided that they like of all the branches. So they have their TVA team go and prune the other ones. They're gardeners of time, really. It's a very interesting way to think of it, because when they first talked about the sacred timeline, I was thinking, well, then there's this timeline, just like Loki's asking, when does it end? There was this timeline that is a finite timeline. It has a start, it has an end, and what they're doing is they're just preserving it all along, but it doesn't sound like that's what's going on, based on what Mobius is saying. He's kind of saying, no, they're in their chambers, they're observing the future, and figuring out how to navigate it, and which timeline they want, and there is no end. Well, I mean, there might be an end somewhere, but they can't see it. All they can see is forward a bit and decide which branches to prune. Very interesting. And also, again, kind of, what word should I use? Totalitarian? Them deciding, oh, that's the right timeline, not this one. Evil might be a word, especially if they have to, end up killing people in the process of pruning the timelines. Who, basically, you say, who are they to judge? Who are they to decide what timeline is good and what timeline isn't? And it goes back to the whole multiverse of madness, right? Because when that stuff starts to kick off, when the whole next Doctor Strange, and we'll talk about this after the episode, I guess, but I think they're going to lose control. There's not going to be enough TVA to stop what's going to happen. Thank you, Wanda. Heaven, huh? No one good is ever truly good, yep.
I know. That's where you are.
Which one is this? Event details, Class 10 Apocalypse, Planetary Body Impact. 10,835 in Alabama in 2050. All right.
Alabama 2050.
This better work, in other words.
So keep an eye out for the missing.
Yeah, what is he planning with the reset charges? Is he planning to reset the TVA? Get himself back here somewhere and set them off? Would it do anything? I don't think it would. What's he planning to do?
Charges.
Or she?
And if you see
I don't know how. In 2050, does every large facility have its own power generation plant or an own nuclear reactor or something? How is it still being powered? And why in 2050 are school buses exactly the same? But I guess it could be. It's only 30 years from now, right? But you're not going to get variance energy, right? They proved that. No matter what happens, another Loki there won't cause any variance energy. So how are they going to scan for the guy? Or gal? No, he's watching on the monitors. He or she. Oh, time countdown to the destruction, I guess, to the apocalyptic event. He set a timer so he can keep track. But why do you leave it there? Oh, what? The green transfer. It's like the female officer who was under the control of Loki for a while and then passed out. It's like it's transferring the control, or is it transferring? No, it's not transferring like his soul or anything. It's like transferring control. So now she is under Loki's control? The smile exchange.
How nice to meet you.
Oh, I brought her here. Yep, just transferring it.
Randy. God, I understand where I fall from.
Oh. He's got the charges wire. There's a wire there, but it doesn't look like it's connected to anything. But the charges, maybe it's acting as an antenna. Here at this event. What? But this is part of the sacred. He's trying to wipe the sacred timeline? Is he trying to have a branch created, and then as the branch is created, he wipes the original timeline? Oh, there he is. He's wiring him up. Okay. Good, she did survive. Does she remember any of it? That's right, he does have his magic. Is he thinking it's not Loki? You think I would never treat me like this? And Randy did say, "Don't call me that. Don't call me Loki." Is this not Loki? So it's not a countdown to the apocalyptic. Well, I mean, I guess it could be, but it's a countdown timer for the explosion, for the wiping out of the. He's trying to wipe out the sacred timeline, I think. That is not. That is a female. Yep. What can these do other than destroy the sacred timeline? Oh! Oh no. Oh no. Dropping them into the TVA where the timekeepers are located to kill the timekeepers or to destroy the TVA? Yep. Somebody just bombed the sacred timeline. So he's not taking out the TVA. He's just causing havoc everywhere so they can't stop it. Oh boy. Oh boy. I think based on the face he had, I don't think he's going to join her. I actually think he's a little pissed off. I think he's going to stop her. He may play along, but I don't think his goal is to just join her. But yeah, female Loki. Cool. All right, are there any... I love this graphic. It's really cool. We also noticed that the judge, she grabbed her weapon, and it looked like a helmet. So maybe she worked her way up the ranks, and she was one of the soldiers at one point, which is really cool. This is all still part of the credits, right? There's no, like, after credit scene here. I wouldn't necessarily expect that in the beginning, but the last couple maybe. Yeah, I don't see the C1. All part of the credits, so. Okay, so... Ooh. I thought, oh, it's good to know Dell is still around. I thought that in 2050 that this was not going to fracture this badly this soon. Now we saw all the soldiers running off to different branches to try to stop them, but if Lady Loki, we'll call her that, is successful, they won't be able to, right? And it'll start fracturing. And we thought that the Multiverse of Madness would be the movie in which we saw the fractures starting and possibly being resolved, which will ultimately, lead to like the mutants and all that stuff, as we kind of all guessed pretty much. But maybe it starts here. Maybe in Multiverse of Madness, they start with the multiverse going crazy. And the different branches appearing. I don't know. And the branches that Lady Loki has created don't have, and you can see on the timeline, they were all along the timeline. Those branches could have come off 3,000 years ago, 100,000 years ago, 1,000,000 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years not 20 years in the future. Because Mobius kind of established that the timekeepers they see into the future a bit, how far, who knows, to figure out which branches to prune and which would be the sacred timeline. But I don't think Lady Loki could have set off any branches in the future. It's going to all be from the past, but the problem is, if you get branches going off in the past that go redline, then those branches will exist to the present, too, because they couldn't stop them. So I guess what's going to happen in Doctor Strange is going to be all these timelines do exist. The multiverse is here. It's a multiverse of madness. And Strange and Wanda probably have to work together. I still think Wanda's going to turn out to be a good person in the end. I mean, I know she's a good person at heart, I think. I don't think she's a villain, but she'll start out being the antagonist. But I think she'll help kind of settle this all down, and then everybody will come back into the same universe again. Maybe in the Avengers is going to culminate that phase, and we'll have, X-Men and mutants and all that stuff. But the fact that I think it's kicking off now, or maybe kicking off now, I mean, it really looks that way. Do you think it's they're kicking it off now, and the movie's just going to pick up with all of that in play. I think that would be pretty cool to establish that here. And by the way, I think I might have mentioned this before, but somebody on one of the more highly subscribed and respected channels has stated that Kevin Feige said that nothing significant is going to happen in any of these Disney Plus shows. But I watched that interview. He never said that. The interviewer asked, will people have to watch it to keep up with what's going on in the movies? And he said, no. That's not the same thing as nothing significant will happen in the show. All that means is that the movies will make sure that you have enough information to understand what happened in the TV shows. It doesn't mean nothing significant will happen. As we saw, I mean, Wanda became the Scarlet Witch. That was pretty dang significant. So, interesting. So he's run off after her. She seemed to, with a little bye-bye and leaving it open. The impression I get is she wanted him to come. Maybe because she wants a lieutenant herself. But I have a feeling, based on the way he was looking, that he understands the importance of, even though he's a trickster, he understands the importance of order to some degree, although he does love chaos, so maybe he doesn't. I was thinking maybe he's been converted a little bit, but he doesn't seem... Okay, all right, let me back this up. This is Loki. Okay. He doesn't want to go help her, he wants to go stop her, but that's only because he wants the power, probably, because he's Loki. Okay, let's get that right, I guess. But yeah, this is a pretty fun episode. I mean, him figuring out that she was hiding out in apocalypses was really cool, made total sense. I thought parts of the episode were a little slow, the parts where they were doing the research and stuff, but it was still kind of cool. Still kind of cool to watch how he arrived at those thoughts, and both Mobius and Loki. And we learned a little bit more about how everything works and the people involved. I thought that was kind of cool. But this 30 years in the future shopping complex doesn't look that futuristic, actually. I don't think it is. All the signs look, like a particular style for a particular brand, but everything looks pretty normal. It's good to know Dell hasn't changed their logo, and they're still in business. Boxing is all the same. Store shelves look the same. Lighting is still drop ceiling fluorescent lighting. Anyway, nitpicks on that stuff, but this is cool. I can't wait for the next episode to see where he goes when he follows her. They're going to another apocalyptic event or to one of the branches. I don't know. And we did see that one scene that looked like it was in this mall where male Loki says, "What did you expect?" And he's got that vote for Loki or whatever button. So I wonder what's going to happen there, when that's going to happen. Wow, this was really fun. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think this is kicking off the multiverse that is going to be fought in Multiverse of Madness and maybe in the entire next phase? Or is this something that's going to be resolved in this episode? Or in this season, sorry. In this series, I guess. I don't think it will be resolved fully. And what the heck's going to happen to Loki? Is this going to be a way for Loki to get back into the timeline, back into the MCU? Is he going to be a free agent and then get, at the end of the next phase or whenever they collapse the timelines, he'll be back? He'll still be there? I wonder. Anyway, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.